Alright, hello and welcome back everyone to another video. Today is a special treat as I finally have together for you the rules on how to play the Pokemon TCG. Now this was a long time coming and it took a little bit because I'm not a great teacher. Sometimes I try and explain things and it makes sense to me but not exactly to who's paying attention, and then I'm spending way more time explaining what I meant than I spend in the actual explanation. So I had my friend Bean, who taught me the game at the local card shop, help me out because he's been teaching people for years. Basically every weekend, anytime somebody came in, he had the answers to all their questions. So he had a lot better flow for how to deliver this information. He did most of the work, and I'm just going to read off of this to deliver it to you so you know what's going on. Normally I would look at something like maybe what the instructions that come in the Elite Trainer box or something like that, but if the Pokemon Company was good at explaining their game, a lot more of us would have known how to play this a lot sooner. So thank you, Bean, for helping out, and let's get into this. So let's start with the similarities. The video game allows you to have up to 6 Pokemon in your party. This relates to the TCG's 6 prize cards that you have to take in order to win the game. As in the video game series, evolutions play a key role in the game. And just like in the video game, type matchups in the TCG can decide matches, with weaknesses and resistances playing a big part. So before we go into any specific rules, let's talk about what's on the Pokemon card. Let's start with the top left corner. Up here it will show the stage of the Pokemon. For this Pikachu, it indicates that it is a basic Pokemon. Moving over to the top right, we have the health points for the Pokemon. For future reference, 10 health is equal to 1 damage counter. Now let's move down to the attack. On the left, you can see the energy requirement for this attack. In order to use it, you will need 1 lightning energy and 1 colorless energy. The colorless energy requirement can be fulfilled with any type of energy. So in this case, you could have 2 lightning energy, a lightning and a water, a lightning and a fire, a lightning and a steel, and so on. Attacking in the TCG does not remove any energy unless the attack specifically says so. Moving a little further down, we can see that Pikachu has a weakness to fighting types. In the TCG, the types are a little bit more simplified, with fighting being rock, ground, and fighting together. So any attacks from a Pokemon with the fighting type will deal double the damage. Something important to note is that attacking with a Pokemon that has a fighting energy attached to it does not make that Pokemon a fighting type. The Pokemon itself will have to start with a fighting type in order for this to apply. Further to right, you can see that Pikachu has a resistance to steel, so it will take 20 less damage. And last but not least, we have the retreat cost. The retreat cost indicates how many energies must be removed from the Pokemon to move them from the active position to the bench. In order to do this, you'll have to spend the energy and have a replacement Pokemon on the bench. If you don't have any other Pokemon on the bench, retreating is not an option. Now then, moving on, the evolution to Pikachu in the Alolan region, or Sun and Moon games, is the Alolan Raichu, hence this card being a Stage 1 instead of a basic card up in the top left. Now the top left will also indicate which Pokemon this Pokemon evolves from. Moving down, you'll see that this Raichu has an ability. Many Pokemon have abilities, and abilities come into the mix at different points in the game. Some abilities can be passive, meaning the ability is always present when applicable. Other abilities have to be activated by the player. The card itself will explain how the ability works from case to case. Now let's talk about Rule Box Pokemon. Rule Box Pokemon are typically the fancy Pokemon. They're usually worth more money and are rarer to pull from booster packs. They also introduce a high risk, high reward paradigm to the game. In general, Rule Box Pokemon are stronger than non-Rule Box Pokemon, but they come with a downside. In the case of V Pokemon, when they are knocked out, the opponent may take 2 prize cards instead of the usual 1. Let's look at Charizard V. This one may be evolved into Charizard V Max, which has even stronger attacks and more HP. However, it gives up to 3 prize cards when knocked out. It is important to note that not all V Pokemon have V Maxes. On the other side of things, this Radiant Charizard is also a Rule Box Pokemon. Its Rule Box states that only 1 copy of the card may be played per deck. That is, only 1 Radiant Pokemon per deck. In contrast to Vs and V Maxes, however, you'll see that this rule box does not give any more prize cards when this Pokemon is knocked out. Now let's take a look at the field where the Pokemon TCG is played. Similar to the video game series, only 6 Pokemon are allowed to be in play at one time. 1 active Pokemon and 5 on the bench. Over here, you'll notice the Stadium Zone. If you've ever played Yu-Gi-Oh!, they're like field spells and they affect both players. They are also persistent and will stay on the field until another player puts a different stadium down. To the side, there are the prize cards. At the start of the match, after drawing their hand, the players will remove 6 cards from the top of their respective decks and set them aside. After a player knocks out one of their opponent's Pokemon, they will take a prize card. Once a player has taken all of their prize cards, they win the match. Then there's the discard zone, where Pokemon who are knocked out, items that are used, or supporter cards and any other cards that are played go once they have fulfilled their purpose. Finally, there is a spot for the deck. This spot isn't exactly concrete, and you can put it more or less wherever you want as long as it's not impeding anything else. Now then, let's go into a little bit more detail on different cards other than Pokemon. First, we have energy cards. Only one energy can be attached to a Pokemon per turn. There are basic energies and special energies. Special energies are typically stronger, but they are harder to get out and are more vulnerable to removal. Then we have trainer cards. Trainer cards include items, tools, supporters, and stadium cards. Item cards can be used as many times as you want per turn. Once they're used and they fulfill their effect, they go straight to the discard pile. Tools can also be used as many times as you want per turn, but only one can be attached per Pokemon. If a Pokemon that has a tool is knocked out, the tool goes to the discard pile with it. Supporter cards can only be used once per turn, but they are usually very powerful. As usual, once they are used, they go to the discard pile. And stadiums, which I mentioned before, can affect both players. Only one can be played per turn, and if there's already one on the field, any player can play their own, and the original one that was on the field is removed and sent to the discard pile. One other limitation is that you can't play a stadium of the same name as one already on the field. Whew. Alright, that was quite a bit, but I think we're ready to start talking about how to actually play the game. At the beginning of each match, each player shuffles their deck. Before any cards are drawn, you will flip a coin to see who goes first. Once that is decided, each player will draw a hand of 7 cards. And your hand, of course, refers to the cards that have been drawn from your deck that you hold in your hand. In order to start the game, both players must draw at least one basic Pokemon to put into play. If you do not draw a basic Pokemon from your starting hand, you must take a mulligan. A mulligan will have you shuffle your hand back into the deck, and you will then draw 7 more cards. You will do this as many times as you need to have a basic Pokemon in your hand. For every mulligan that a player takes, their opponent may then draw 1 more card. It is important to note that if both players mulligan, they cancel each other out, and neither player draws extra cards. It might be confusing at first, but figuring this out is really just a matter of simple math. If both my opponent and I mulligan, that is, we have no basic Pokemon in our first hand, no one draws any extra cards because they cancel each other out. However, if I mulligan 3 times and my opponent mulligans once, they get to draw 2 cards. The first set cancel out, leaving my 2 mulligans to let them draw those 2 cards. It's a little tricky to get used to, so if you're confused, don't feel bad. It gets simpler the more you get used to playing. If you do have a basic Pokemon, you have to play one in the active spot. After setting your active Pokemon, you will draw 6 prize cards from the top of your deck and set them aside. If any mulligans did occur earlier, you will draw now accordingly. The player who goes first cannot evolve, attack, or use supporter cards. They can, however, still use items, tools, energies, play stadiums, and use Pokemon abilities. The player who goes second cannot evolve, but they can play supporters and they can attack. You will only be able to evolve your Pokemon once the Pokemon has been out on the field for at least 1 turn, and you have the subsequent stage in your hand. And as I mentioned before, in order to win the game, a player must take all 6 of their prize cards from knocking out their opponent's Pokemon. Aside from taking prize cards, there are 2 other win conditions you should be aware of. If a player runs out of Pokemon, that is, they no longer have a Pokemon in play on the field, they lose the game regardless of how many prize cards are left. Also, if it's a player's turn and they cannot draw any more cards, that is, there are no more cards in the deck to draw from, they lose the game. This win condition is referred to as milling, where certain card effects cause you to discard multiple cards from your deck at a time. And at the start of each player's turn, regardless of who goes first, they will draw a card from the top of the deck. And finally, I will go over a few general deck building rules and some of the differences between a couple of formats. A format is essentially a set of rules that dictates which kinds of cards can be used in your deck during a game. In general, I've been playing the standard format, which is the tournament official format. This format consists of cards from the most recent sets and rotates cards out of the format every year. In the most recent cards that have been printed, you will see a letter block on the bottom left-hand corner. These start at D, and D will be the first block to be rotated out of the format starting next year in 2023. Currently, we also have E and F block cards, F being the most recent. You'll be assembling cards until you have a deck of 60. No more, no less. In general, you'll be restricted to 4 copies of any given card with the same name in each deck. The exception to this is basic energies. Special energies have to apply by this rule. The Gym Leader Challenge format, however, is a little bit different. In this format, there are no rule box Pokemon, only 1 copy of any given card except for basic energies, and you can only have 1 type of Pokemon in the deck. I actually just built a Gym Leader Challenge deck myself, and it's pretty fun. I'll probably do a video on it at some point, but for now I just wanted to give an idea of some different formats that are available in the TCG right now. And that is it for the basic rules of the Pokemon TCG. You're probably not going to be taking down any tournaments anytime soon, but hopefully this will help you get your foot in the door and understand what this game is all about. You've seen on my channel some videos of me playing the game, but I want to go into a little bit more depth on how to build a deck, the strategies that you want to go for, how you should be thinking when putting together your very first deck, and how the rules apply. But that's it for this one, so thank you guys very much for watching, and as always, please leave a comment below. I'd be happy to answer any questions or clear anything up for you guys, take suggestions, or if you just want to leave a nice comment, I'll take that too. But in the meantime, take care, God bless you all, and I'll see you in the next one.